My wife had trouble getting pregnant, so we decided to try IVF. To my surprise, before the embryo synthesis, I caught my wife swapping my sperm with that of her first love, later when she thought she was giving birth to her and her old flame's child, ready to have him recognized as family. I laughed because I had already swapped the sperm back. I even replaced her egg with that of my ex-girlfriend's. After an overseas inspection of a medical cooperation project, my son Max and I returned home to find a crowd of rarely seen, distant relatives gathered at our house. It was such a scene that one might think we were having a family tree assembly. The most eye-catching among them was Ethan, sitting in the center of the sofa with red-rimmed eyes, while Amanda, my fun-loving wife who frequents bars and clubs, nestled against him, comforting him softly. I raised an eyebrow, placed my suitcase aside, and asked Amanda, "What special occasion is today that brings such a lively crowd?" Max, following behind me, crossed his arms coldly and stared at Ethan with disdain, already sensing this man's identity. My mother-in-law sat in the main seat, looking displeased and hesitant to speak. Before Amanda could respond, Ethan walked towards Max with tears in his eyes, exclaiming, "My dear son, I am your real father." Max deftly stepped aside, his face filled with disgust, as if Ethan were some filthy thing. He stepped back and said coldly, "My father's name is Lucas." I held Max's hand and gave him a reassuring look, then raised my fist and punched Ethan in the face. The dull thud of my fist echoed in the living room. As I said coldly, "Don't claim kinship falsely." Amanda immediately stood up, tenderly helping Ethan up while shouting at me, "Lucas, have you gone mad? How dare you hit Ethan?" She raised her hand to slap me, but Max quickly stepped forward and slapped her, instead saying through gritted teeth, "How dare you hit my dad?" Max's voice was low but carried undeniable authority. Amanda stood in shock, both angry and upset, raising her hand again to hit Max. Ethan, however, pulled her back, pretending to dissuade her. "Amanda, don't hit him, he's our son." His fake fatherly demeanor made me want to vomit. Amanda lowered her hand, glaring at Max. "If not for your biological father's sake, I would have taught you a lesson today." Max sneered. "Oh, I'd love to see what you can do." His sharp gaze was exactly like mine in my youth, and I felt a surge of pride. My boy raised well by me. An elder cleared his throat, trying to calm the chaotic scene. "Everyone quiet down." His authoritative voice gradually restored order, and all eyes turned to him. He looked at Amanda and asked, "Amanda, why have you called everyone here today?" Amanda took a deep breath as if summoning courage. She reached out to hold Ethan's arm affectionately and said, "Actually, today, I have an important announcement." She paused, looking around at everyone, before finally fixing her gaze on me and Max. I watched her calmly, curious to see what trick she would pull. She said, "Max is not Lucas's biological son." Amanda's voice was low, but like a bomb exploding in the living room. Max turned to me in shock, and I signaled him to stay calm. The relatives around us whispered excitedly, like sharks smelling blood. Years ago when we did IVF, the doctor said Lucas' sperm was of poor quality. To spare his feelings, I swapped it with Ethan's. She cast a malicious glance at me, hoping to see me lose control, but I remained composed. Forced to continue her act, she said, "Today I've gathered everyone to witness Max acknowledging his biological father." The room erupted with chatter, some saying, "If Max isn't Lucas' son, he must acknowledge his real father. It's time for Lucas to step down from the family's businesses." I inwardly sneered at these relatives, who had been marginalized from the company's management and were eager to see me ousted. Max tightened his grip on my hand. I said firmly, "Max will always be my son." Ethan, looking helpless, sighed. "Lucas, how long will you deceive yourself? Max is indeed my son." Over the years, watching Amanda treat Max like a puppet, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. She thought she was tricking me, but little did she know, she had been raising someone else's child for over 20 years. Amanda interrupted my thoughts with a sneer. "You're just being stubborn. Max may have been with you all these years, but his biological father is Ethan." I replied calmly with a hint of provocation. "You're dreaming." Amanda snorted. "If you don't believe me, let's do a paternity test. I also want a divorce. I've had enough of being your lapdog for 25 years. I've been more than kind to you." When she mentioned divorce, a hint of joy flashed across her face. It seemed she had been thinking about it for a long time. She dared to say she had been kind to me. For 25 years, she and I had lived in separate rooms. While I raised our child alone, she was off gallivanting with Ethan, while I fought in the business world to uphold the Liu family's name. She was partying with a bunch of rich kids. But she was wrong about one. I didn't marry her out of love. I married her to gain the status of the Liu family's son-in-law and control over the Liu group. Now that the Liu group was firmly under my control, Amanda had no more use to me. I said divorce is fine with me. I shrugged indifferently. But there's no need for a paternity test. I'm certain Max is my son. Max looked at me with determination. Dad, I believe you. Amanda Nathan panicked. She said, Max, don't you believe your mother? Max ignored her and stayed close to me. At that moment, a boy who looked like a college student burst in. He walked straight to Max, excitedly calling out brother. Everyone was stunned. It was one thing to have another father pop up, but now there was another brother. Looking at the boy who resembled Ethan, I had a hunch. This must be Amanda and Ethan's illegitimate child. They had hidden it. Well, no wonder. Amanda's frequent absences and her pregnancy had gone unnoticed. My mother-in-law, sitting at the head of the table, asked, Amanda, what's going on? The atmosphere in the living room froze again. The boy with red-rimmed eyes looked like he was about to cry. Brother, my name is Nate. I've always known about you. He stammered, his voice trembling. He glanced at me fearfully, then quickly lowered his head, as if afraid I would scold him. My dad often talks about you, saying how excellent and handsome you are. Ethan put on a pained expression. Max, my dear son, I've missed you so much all these years. He looked up, his face full of sorrow, as if he had suffered a great injustice. Nate has always wanted to meet you. We've often secretly watched you. Nate nodded eagerly, adding, really, brother? I even went to your school just to be closer to you. He took out a stack of photos from his pocket and handed them to Max, saying, these are your photos. I took them secretly. Max flipped through the photos, seeing himself in various moments, wearing a graduation gown, looking tired after basketball practice, and passionately debating with classmates. He felt a chill run down his spine, realizing there had been a creepy guy stalking and photographing him all these years. Amanda wasn't idle either. She walked over to my mother-in-law, pointing at Nate, and said solemnly, Mom, this is your grandson. Everyone is here to witness this. Please acknowledge him. Amanda was clever. She knew that after my father-in-law's death, my mother-in-law held the real power in the Liu family. By inviting all the relatives, she hoped to pressure my mother-in-law into accepting Nate. She was certain that if my mother-in-law agreed, I would have no choice but to comply. After all, she had observed my filial piety towards my mother-in-law over the past 25 years. Nate, quick-witted, immediately turned to my mother-in-law and respectfully called out, Grandma. My mother-in-law looked at Nate, then at me, her eyes filled with complex emotions. She didn't immediately respond to Nate's greeting. I knew she felt sorry for me, not wanting to make things difficult for her. I broke the silence. Amanda, your real intention is to have this illegitimate child recognized as a Liu family member and inherit the Liu family's assets. Right? Why involve Max? I turned to Max, exchanging a glance. Even if Max isn't my biological son, he is still my only child. All my assets, property, stocks, funds, including 20% of the Liu Group's shares, will be left to him. Max, would you rather stay with me or go with your mom and this so-called father? My son's quick mind grasped my meaning instantly. He declared, Mom has a new son now, and the assets won't be left to me. Of course I'll stay with Dad. Good boy. Well taught by me, stating his purpose in reverse. Ethan's eyes lit up at the mention of all my assets going to Max, shining brighter than 1,000-watt bulb. He knew my assets were substantial, including a significant amount of gold, silver, and real estate, not to mention the 20% Liu Group shares. A veritable gold mine. Greed, naked greed, was written all over his face. He whispered too. When the old man passed away, he divided his 60% of the group's shares into 4 parts. 20% to Lucas, 20% to the old lady, 10% to Max, and you only got 10%. If Lucas transfers his shares to Max, and we later coax Max into giving us his shares, you'll have 40%. Right now, we need to make Lucas give up his shares and assets, leaving him with nothing, and bring Max to our side. Amanda, after some thought, agreed with Ethan and presented herself as a loving mother to Max. She said, Max, Your brother can fend for himself and won't fight you for the assets. I'm willing to give you everything." She paused, adding a condition. "But you must go with Ethan for a paternity test. If it shows that you two are father and son, you have to acknowledge Ethan as your dad and treat him well." Max glanced at me, and I gave a barely noticeable nod. "Okay." Max agreed readily, but cleverly added a condition. "Before we do the paternity test, both of you need to come with me to the notary office and transfer all assets to my name, unconditionally." I silently applauded my son's shrewdness. He understood that only assets in hand were real, not mere verbal promises. This got the greedy relatives excited. If Ethan could think of it, so could they. They rubbed their hands, as if they saw countless treasures beckoning to them. Amanda didn't understand business. If the Lou Group were under her name, it would be easy for them to manipulate her. One of the relatives led the cheers. "Good, good, good, that's the way to do it." Another relative took out his phone, dialing as he said, "I'll contact the notary office right away." A group of people busied themselves, as if preparing for a celebration. My mother-in-law, concerned, tried to stop me. "Good child, reconsider the asset transfer." I smiled and shook my head, reassuring her. "Mom, don't worry. I have my reasons." Knowing my capabilities, she didn't try to persuade me further. With their help, all assets under Amanda's and my name were transferred to Max, except for a living allowance of $50,000 each. In the notary office, Amanda and Ethan looked lovingly at Max, envisioning a future where he led the Lou Group to greatness, their smiles bright as they dreamed. During the notarization process, I added, "Ethan, don't you claim to love Max? Shouldn't you show it?" I casually suggested, eyeing Ethan's hypocritical face. "I've spent millions raising your son these past 20-plus years. I'm not asking for compensation. Just give the money to Max. After all, I love him the most." Max seized the opportunity. "Uncle Ethan, you've been with my mom for over 20 years. You must have saved millions, right? Since we're at the notary, why not show your sincerity? Otherwise, I'll doubt your love for me and think you just want the Lou family's assets." Ethan's face stiffened, caught in a dilemma. He'd feel pain giving up the money, but refusing would cast doubt on his motives. Reluctantly, he pulled out a card and handed it to Max, saying, "Max, of course Dad loves you. Here's $5 million I've saved over the years." Max didn't hesitate to grasp the card and called in the notary personnel for immediate notarization. Ethan smiled stiffly, like he was being skinned alive. The DNA testing center was Amanda's choice. Fearing I'd manipulate the results, she chose the most authoritative, National Forensic Center. I smirked at her naivety. After samples were taken from me, Ethan and Max, I requested a sample from Amanda too. Amanda looked at me incredulously. "Lucas, are you crazy? Max is undoubtedly my child." I smirked. "We're already here. Might as well do it." Max didn't understand my motive, but trusted I had a reason. He pouted and demanded Amanda do the test too. Now treating Max like a deity, she complied. As we left the center, Nate arrived late, carrying flowers. "Brother," he called to Max, trying to hug him. Max, disgusted, pushed him away. "Don't touch me, it's gross." Nate, taller than Max by half a head, looked decent. Ethan tried to smooth things over. "Max, he's your brother. A family should love each other." Max rolled his eyes. "Wait for the results before claiming kinship." I added calmly, "I won't interrupt your family bonding. Amanda, let's go get the divorce papers." With no assets and no child custody to negotiate, Amanda and I didn't even need a divorce agreement. We went straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau for the divorce certificates. Ethan's eyes widened in joy, shocked by the swift divorce process. He expected me to cling on stubbornly, but seeing Max firmly by my side made him envious. After Max went to the parking lot to get the car, Ethan finally had a chance to mock me. "Lucas, Amanda never loved you. Do you know why Max is named Max?" "Because my name has an E in it," symbolizing Ethan. Amanda, clinging to Ethan, smugly said, "When the paternity test results come out, Max will naturally come back to us." Nate, dropping his innocent act, arrogantly said, "All the money is Max's now. When the results confirm the truth, you'll be left homeless." I didn't bother responding to their foolish provocations. Amanda, feeling confident, revealed her true intentions. "You've controlled the Lou Group for so long. Now it's time for Ethan and me to take charge." I laughed coldly. "You were always after the Lou Group's assets, using Max." Amanda snorted. "So what if I am? Now that the assets are all transferred to Max, once the paternity test results are out, I'll be the true master of the Lou group. I replied with a cold gaze. Then let's see if you're really that lucky to take control of the Lou group. Their schemes were as noisy as firecrackers, thinking they had everything under control. But they didn't realize they had no chance. From the start, while I was handing over the company affairs, Nate showed up, kicked the general manager out, and brazenly sat in the leather chair with his legs crossed, claiming he was the general manager because his brother was the chairman. No one dared to stop him, but I did. I said, "Throw him out." Security guards immediately stepped forward to lift Nate. How dare you touch me? My brother is the chairman. I'm his biological brother. You dogs, try touching me. He even cursed at me, "You bastard. You've been kicked out of the Lou family and have no right to command the Lou group's employees." He pushed and shoved the security guards, trying to hit me. Outrageous, just as I was about to teach him a lesson. Max arrived asking coldly, "What's going on?" Nate immediately put on a pitiful expression. "Brother, you're here just in time. This bastard wants the security to kick me out." Max looked at him coldly. "This is a company, not a place for you to cause trouble. And I'm not your brother." A voice chimed in. "Max, how can you speak to your brother like that? Ethan arrived too. Your family. You need your brother to help you with company matters. Without family support, you'll be bullied." Max sneered. "Throw them both out." Seeing that the soft approach didn't work, Ethan tried to be forceful. "I'm Amanda's husband, Max's biological father. This group belongs to me too." I laughed coldly. "Throw them out and don't dirty the company." The security guards, finally understanding who was in charge, lifted the clueless pair and dragged them out. Ethan still shouting, "Lucas, wait for the paternity test results. I'll make you beg me for a meal." I watched his pathetic state and said, "Don't worry, I'm eagerly waiting for the results." The long-awaited day for Ethan finally arrived. I got up early, donned a full suit, ready to watch Ethan's downfall from a high place. Except for my mother-in-law, Amanda had invited all the relatives to the forensic center to witness the results, probably hoping more people would see me as a joke. Before the results were revealed, I asked Amanda with a smirk, "This is the forensic center you chose. You won't dispute the results, right?" Amanda, with her head held high, confidently said, "Of course not. I always keep my word." I almost laughed out loud. So naive she wouldn't believe it until she saw it. As the technician arrived with the results, Ethan began his performance. He affectionately put his arm around Amanda's shoulders, saying solemnly, "Amanda, once the results are out, our family can finally reunite." He even glanced at me provocatively. I ignored him, turning to Max, who also looked indifferent. Ethan, hitting a wall, adjusted his expression and turned to Max. "From now on, I'm your father. If you need anything, just tell Dad." He took out a small box and handed it to Max. "This is a watch I bought for you. A gift for recognizing me. Do you like it?" Max, without even looking at it, coldly replied, "No need." Ethan's smile froze, and Amanda quickly tried to smooth things over. "Max, your father means well." Max interrupted. "I don't need his goodwill. I only have one father, and that's Lucas." A warm feeling surged in my heart. My son always on my side. Just then, the technician returned with 3 DNA test results. Ethan, Amanda, and Nate immediately perked up, their eyes glued to the documents like hungry wolves. They looked at me triumphantly, as if I would be disgraced the next moment, and they would enjoy wealth and honor. I could hardly contain my laughter. The technician opened the envelope, and Ethan's breath quickened. Amanda's hands trembled with excitement. Her face flushed. She muttered, "Max, we can finally be together as a family." She glanced at me with an expression that seemed to say, I was already defeated. Ethan's body trembled with excitement. Max's dad finally proved himself foolish. Nate eagerly approached Max. "Brother, once we get back to the Lou group, make me the general manager. I'm your real brother. Only I can Lucasly help you." He acted as if Max's help was a given, as if the general manager position was already his. I watched their pathetic performance with a cold sneer. They wouldn't know who the real fool was. Until the last moment, the technician cleared his throat and began to read the results. According to the DNA comparison, Mr. Ethan and Mr. Max. He deliberately paused, making Ethan and Amanda even more nervous, stretching their necks as if they could hear better. The surrounding relatives held their breath. Their expressions varied, waiting to see my downfall. The technician are not biologically related. The air seemed to freeze. Amanda's eyes widened, and she screamed hysterically. Impossible, there must be a mistake. Ethan, equally shocked, asked, how can this be? How is there no biological relationship? Ethan's face turned pale, and he couldn't hide the terror in his expression. Nate snatched the report, saying, you must have misread it. Let me see. After reading it, he collapsed into a chair, muttering, how can this be? I asked the technician to read out the paternity test. Between me and Max. He read according to the DNA comparison. Lucas and Max are biological father and son. The room erupted in disbelief. Amanda, struck as if by lightning, muttered, impossible. Seeing the confusion on my mother-in-law's face. And others, I kindly explained. When you tried to swap the samples, I saw it. So I swapped my sperm back. Watching her face turn increasingly pale, I continued. Oh, and I also swapped your egg with that of my ex-girlfriend's. The room fell silent in shock. My mother-in-law looked up, her eyes filled with disbelief. I turned to Amanda and said, Max is not your child. Congratulations on being a mother to my son for over 20 years. Amanda grabbed the paternity report from the technician, and seeing the result, her eyes turned blood red. She lunged at me, shouting, you scum. But I caught her and pushed her to the ground, looking down at her coldly. Ethan, upon hearing this, clung to Amanda, his voice hoarse. Amanda, if Max isn't yours, then he isn't a Lou. The only heir can be Nate. His face lit up with hope as he clung to Amanda's hand. Realizing what had happened, Amanda looked up, a hint of malice in her eyes. She stumbled to her feet, turned to my mother-in-law, and said, Mom. Everyone heard and saw that Max isn't my child. She pointed at me, spitting angrily. He's the bastard child of Lucas and his ex-girlfriend. We can't let an outsider inherit the Lou family's assets. Ethan and Nate echoed her. Yes. Throw Max out. The heir must be Nate. My mother-in-law, recovering from shock, looked at me with complex emotions. She trembled slightly and asked, Lucas, is it true? Seeing her like this, I felt a pang of sadness. It's true, I confirmed. Amanda, dissatisfied with my mother-in-law's reaction, shook her hand. Mom, you have to announce Nate as the heir. My mother-in-law, regaining her composure, asked calmly, do you know who Lucas's ex-girlfriend is? Amanda, desperate, retorted, who cares? Max isn't our child. My mother-in-law said, Lucas's ex-girlfriend is your sister Isabella. She's my biological daughter. So Max is still a Leo and the rightful heir. Her words exploded like a bomb in the crowd. Our family tradition dictates the legitimate eldest child inherits the business. Nowadays, it's about the legitimate child of the original wife. Only if there are no direct descendants does it pass to others. Remember your place. Amanda, stunned by the revelation. Amanda turned pale. My father-in-law had brought Amanda into the family only after Isabella had an accident and became comatose. Since then, Amanda had tried to usurp power but failed. Amanda, still in denial. I don't believe Max is Serafina's child. Why should we trust Lucas's word? I ridiculed her and pulled out another paternity test report. This is Max's paternity test with Isabella. I showed the report to everyone. If you don't believe it, Isabella is still in the nursing home, and Max is here. We can arrange a state-level DNA test. The crowd murmured in agreement, acknowledging Max as the rightful heir. Ethan and Nate were dumbfounded, their plans shattered. Understanding the situation, the relatives started to leave, one after another. Amanda glared at me, contemplating something. Swallowing her pride, she walked up to me, pleading, Lucas, I know you love me. You just dislike me. Going out to clubs and bars, and being close to other men, right? I promise I won't contact Ethan again. Please let me stay in the Lou family. I looked at her with pity and said slowly, Amanda, you're wrong. I never loved you. Her face turned ashen. What did you say? She stammered. Then why did you always stare at me and insist on marrying me? I explained coldly. Because you look like Isabella. I found solace in your resemblance. Marrying you was to protect Isabella's legacy. You, posing as the Lou family's daughter, allowed me to enter the Lou group and prevent power grabs from other branches. You must be wondering why Isabella, my ex-girlfriend, was favored over you, who has blood ties to the family. When your sister had her accident, my father-in-law had no choice but to bring you into the family, given you were his illegitimate child. Amanda, devastated by the truth, stumbled back. So I was just a substitute all along, she muttered. Everything she had was built on a lie now exposed. She had nothing left. We had played this charade for 25 years. And now it was time for the curtain to fall. I had the servants pack her things and threw her out of the villa. Mom, I've been working with a foreign medical institute on a project about stimulating the nerves of coma patients to help them wake up. My mother-in-law's eyes lit up with hope. You mean? I nodded. Serafina has responded well to the treatment and will wake up soon. My mother-in-law, tears streaming down her face, whispered, "My dear Serafina." Meanwhile, Amanda, wandering aimlessly, returned to the apartment she once shared with Ethan, only to be met with disdain. "Ethan mocked you, fool. Now we have nothing," Amanda retorted. "If you hadn't swapped the sperm, we wouldn't be here." Ethan, stunned, argued. "You agreed to it." Amanda, losing her temper, screamed, "Shut up. It's pointless now. We have no money. What are we going to do with just 50,000? Ethan shrugged. "Don't expect me to support you." Desperate, Amanda asked, "What do we do?" Ethan, thinking of something, said, "The 5 million Max has, let's get it back." They stumbled to Max's apartment, ringing the doorbell for ages. Max finally opened the door, unfazed by their presence. "What do you want?" Ethan, pushing past him, demanded. "Give me back my money." Max sneered. "Why should I?" Ethan, trembling with anger, said, "That money is mine." Max, lounging on the sofa, replied, "Uncle Ethan, the 5 million was legally gifted to me, so I don't owe you anything." Ethan, overwhelmed, collapsed, clutching his chest, and fell unconscious. Panicked, Amanda screamed, "Ethan!" She held him, shouting for help. Max, still composed, called 120. Then, as if nothing had happened, returned to his book. With their money gone, Amanda and Ethan blamed each other. After spending the 50,000, Amanda found herself penniless. Ethan refused to support her unless she got a job. I, ever so kind, arranged a job for Amanda through a headhunter. Sometime later, I invited Max out to dinner. On the way, I hummed a tune. Max asked why I was so happy. Because there's a good show waiting for us. From the second floor, private room of the open kitchen restaurant. Max watched through the glass as Amanda, dressed in a waitress's uniform, served tables downstairs. He raised an eyebrow. "Is this it?" I smiled. "Just wait and see." Moments later, Ethan entered the restaurant with a beautiful woman. They laughed and chatted intimately. Amanda, seeing them, froze, her expression darkening. Amanda demanded, "Ethan, what are you doing here?" Ethan ignored her, continuing his flirtatious conversation with the woman. Amanda's voice rose. "Ethan, I'm talking to you." Finally, Ethan glanced at her dismissively. "What do you think I'm doing? Eating, obviously. Are you blind?" Amanda pointed at the woman. "Who is she?" Ethan laughed shamelessly. "What's it to you if Emily and I are here? Does it bother you?" Amanda's face turned red with rage. "What is your relationship with her?" Ethan replied casually. "She's my girlfriend." "Is that a problem?" Amanda staggered back. "Girlfriend? You?" Ethan continued. "We've been together for over 20 years. All the money I took from you was to support her." He paused and added, "Oh, by the way, the baby you lost wasn't the one you gave birth to. I bribed the doctor to swap it for Emily's son, Nate." Amanda's face drained of color, as if her soul had been sucked out. She stared at Ethan, her eyes filled with disbelief and despair. Beside him, Emily laughed mockingly. "Sister, you've been played for a fool." Amanda's world collapsed. The man she loved had betrayed her, and the son she raised wasn't hers. 20 years of devotion were nothing but a cruel joke. In a fit of rage, she ran to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and lunged at Ethan, stabbing him while screaming, "You ruined me. You ruined everything." Ethan screamed as blood soaked his clothes. Max watched in horror as the scene unfolded, while I sipped my tea calmly. The police quickly arrived and took Amanda away. Max, stunned, asked, "Dad, this is the show you wanted me to see?" I put down my tea and said seriously, "Max, there's a lesson. Never show mercy to your enemies." Max, confused, asked, "Isn't it enough to just kick her out? Why go to such lengths?" I replied, "Because your mother's injury wasn't an accident. Amanda set her up to go to the construction site, and Ethan cut the brakes on the truck. I've waited 25 years to see them destroy each other." Trying to remain calm, but my voice still laced with hatred, I added, "I had the job arranged for Amanda, so she could easily get a weapon. I lured Ethan here by having the madam give his girlfriend 2 dining vouchers. The table was right in Amanda's line of sight. Ethan was taken to the hospital, but didn't survive the surgery. Later, Max told me that Nate, unable to sustain himself without Ethan's money. Ended up working as a male escort. Ironically, one of Max's classmates even hired him. Days passed, and life seemed to return to normal. But a call from the hospital disrupted the calm. The doctor said, "Zarafina has woken up." I could hardly believe my ears. After 25 years, she was finally awake. I rushed to the hospital with Max and my mother-in-law. In the hospital room, Isabella lay on the bed pale but clear-eyed. She smiled weakly when she saw me. "Lucas, you look older." Tears welled up in my eyes. "You've been asleep for so long. We've waited for you." I gestured to Max and my mother-in-law waiting outside. Isabella looked at Max. "Who is this?" I explained that he was our test baby. She accepted it well, looking at Max with motherly affection. "What's his name?" I answered, "His name is Max." Isabella smiled softly. "Max, what a nice name."